So basically what we do is we inclusively host employers who do not screen for marijuana or who have dropped marijuana screening from their drug testing panel. That way, medical marijuana patients and cannabis consumers can apply for jobs they're qualified for and don't have to worry about marijuana pre-employment screening.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 49 of Business Therapy, the show where every week, Jonathan and I meet with real professionals and we talk about real business problems. Today on the show, we have Damian Jorden, who's coming this week to talk about some of the scaling questions he has regarding his startup, which is a very fascinating startup, by the way. So, Damian, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Sam? Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So why don't we start off, Damian, by you just telling the audience a little bit more about yourself, your business, and the challenge you wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name is Damian Jorden. I'm the CEO and founder of Phynally, and we're the world's first job search engine for cannabis consumers. So basically what we do is we inclusively host employers who do not screen for marijuana or who have dropped marijuana screening from their drug testing panel. That way, medical marijuana patients and cannabis consumers can apply for jobs they're qualified for and don't have to worry about marijuana pre-employment screening. So we're getting ready to scale. I'm excited to get our product out there and help all these patients out here in the United States that's being treated in the 37 states. And, as a new tech entrepreneur, growth and scale is something that is crucial and critical to our business and just the way that we can learn and grow. So just wanted to sit here and chat about it.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Damian. So where we always like to start is talking a little bit more about the challenge from your perspective. So scaling is such an expansive topic. And like you said, for a growing business, especially in tech, it's a very prominent topic, right? Because tech companies, as you scale, it can be kind of intangible. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you feel like is either already coming up as a challenge in your scaling journey or what you kind of anticipate as a challenge? Let's hone in a little bit more about where you might be feeling some tension.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would probably say just kind of understanding when, like as a young startup, as we are, for me, it's having the right help so we can scale. Let me start there. And it's basically understanding, I'm a non-technical founder. So, there's components to understanding our website, our traffic, and what's required of us to get into specific markets. And then also understanding our customers. That is really our biggest challenge that we've seen. And then, which is why, for us, while we're raising capital and while we're out here, getting in front of our job seekers and the employers as well, so we can help get them to better understand how we're getting them new talent and how we're creating more opportunities for job seekers to meet those employers by getting into those exact markets.
Maybe, Damien, tell us where you are in that journey. So like, where is the company right now?
Yeah, we're in a great space, man. To date, we've already had 13,000 users. It's been an exciting time just to see the user growth. The traffic for us has, 91% of our traffic is organic search. That just lets you know it's that many people out here looking to meet with employers that's consuming marijuana. And the thing is, it's not just it's not just people who are, cannabis consumers. Like, these are patients. Like, that's the one thing I think that I really, when I'm having these talks with people, I really want them to understand we're talking about patients. We're talking about people that are consuming marijuana as a medicine, that are qualified for these positions, but do not have access to these opportunities because of the medicine that they're consuming. And, the 37 states in the United States reflect that. So for us, it's really understanding it and getting in front of those users and basically building that product. For us, scaling and building the product with the right team, and we're going into uncharted territory. We're a cannabis company, which is a new industry. We're in tech and we're employment. In healthcare as well, and that's another facet of our business that I wanted to expand on. is that, what we also do is, and the reason why it's so important to me is not only do we get medical marijuana patients jobs, but we also help potential job seekers who may be medical marijuana patients. We match them with medical marijuana doctors that can certify. So on the front end, you come in, get a job with an employer that doesn't screen, but also what we do is we connect you with medical physicians so you can get your medical marijuana card.
Is this site devoted just to medical marijuana users?
No, not at all. No, this is anyone. So, that's the unique thing. So the way we look at it is, let's just say, you're a VP of marketing and you go to Las Vegas to go celebrate a bachelor party, and you consume in a recreational state only to come back home and apply for a position or interview for a position to then be screened, fail the screening. And the next thing you know, you lose out for opportunity, all for something that you did recreational. And also at that time, cannabis may not have been something that you've identified with, but you paid the consequences for consuming it. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate, not only for you, but also for the employer as well. So for us, we want it to be as though, you have a clear choice and a clear place to go. So like you can go onto our competitors and you can type in, VP of marketing and you can get 10,000 results. But out of that 10,000 results, you don't know which one screened for marijuana. You come on our site, you type in VP of marketing, you get 10,000 results. None of those companies screen for marijuana. There is no barrier to employment. So that's, for us is getting it out there. So not only job seekers who are patients currently, but also job seekers who could be potential patients, but also people who are also in recreational states.
And I know that our listeners are going to be very interested in the topic. Is this for people who are worried about the screening alone, or is it also potentially people who might have something that would be revealed in a background check from back in the day when it might have been illegal to use marijuana?
That's a great question. I think it's like twofold a little bit. On the job seeker side, I mean, it's really just the transparency. Of knowing that if I consume this, I'll be okay. The background checks, that's something completely different. For most employers, you're probably going to go through that. But for us, it's the removal of the marijuana. So marijuana has become legal in these states and it's here to stay and it's growing. And the thing is, also the employer, the employer has to start making these decisions and understanding if I'm gonna keep having these pre-employment screenings, am I closing off myself to today's talent? I always say this is my favorite stat, 47% of college students consume marijuana. That is today's job market. That is people today searching for these jobs, and you need to understand either what they're into or what they're being treated for. And I think that's one of the biggest things where on the employer side, I think they also think that people are going to just be showing up to work high. That's another misconception, which is troubling because it's like, hey, and that's another thing on our page. You go, we have a whole employee landing page where we let them know about the Drug-Free Workplace Act of 1988. So the Drug-Free Workplace Act of 1988 says you don't show up to work drunk, you don't show up to work high. This is the same circumstances for marijuana. Same thing. This is what these people are consuming their medicine off hours from the job, so it's clarity. And if I got to answer your question.
No, that's perfect. Yes. And you work with the employers as well, or to find out their policies, or because now we're going to start getting into the question you came on for the scaling.
Sure.
I just want a sense of what that process is for you to have gotten those 13,000 users already.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, it was, just data mining. Getting out there and finding out which employers screened, which ones did not screen, which employers were in cities that do not allow pre-employment screening, and also, posting career positions for that. We, here in Philly, we post, all types of jobs, banks. One of our clients is a banking institution out here. For us, it's really getting it out there and getting these people to understand it. But the posting of the jobs, we gather them from all sorts. And that's the thing, we're for every employer. A lot of people think that we're a cannabis company. We service cannabis consumers, people who consume that medicine. So, and that's the thing, it's on every level, from the C-suite, the executive VP level, to any other level beyond that. So it's I just believe it affects all people, and the employers need to understand that this is today's job and workforce, and they're great people. That's the cool thing. Like, hey, and I always say this, like, if you have any questions about the people, that's job searching on your platform, and the type of quality of the talent, like, look at me. Like, I built the platform. Like, look, we can do this. Like, like, we're talented people. And I think that's one of the things that we want them to see in everyone. A safe space. Phynally is a safe space.
And why did you start the company? What motivated you to do this?
I was drinking alcohol. I went through one of the hardest times in my life in 2017. Almost lost both of my parents in the same year. I was in a relationship, and she got a job, moved to DC with the Wizards. I had a sports management firm, and I didn't have any clients signed to me. And I had a job in finance that I hated. And I just felt like I just wasn't doing something that was pushing me further. And then, just like many people, I was drinking, and I had a buddy of mine. He came over and he was like, "Hey man, like, this ain't you." And I was like, "Of course it's not me," but what he did is he introduced me to cannabis, and he educated me. So he let me know what sativas was, and not the hybrids and the indicas. And he educated me on the science, and then, from learning about cannabis, I started healing myself. I started getting the medical side of it. And it just so happened that there was a medical marijuana doctor that lived in my building. So, and then from that, I started consuming cannabis. So now as I'm consuming cannabis, I'm feeling great. And I say, okay, maybe I'll go work for a larger sports firm. So I'm getting ready to apply for all these larger sports firm positions. And I said, am I going to have to stop consuming something that's helping me to go get a job? And then that's when it made me reflect on all of my friends from college who would stop consuming cannabis for 30 days just to go on a job interview, drinking, all this crazy stuff, buying fake urine, and, wonky stuff. I mean, serious, like the stuff that they have people drinking just to get over the barrier for employment is wild. So, and in that moment, it made me realize, like, this is a real problem. And then also I had a client when I was working at the bank, and she was like, "Oh man, you got a great job. You work at the bank." I was like, "Well, why don't you apply? Like, it's a job." And she goes, she's like, "I smoke marijuana." She has a medical card, but she has a psychology degree, but she was looking to, get into finance, was looking for some transferable skills. And I was like, "Well, we don't screen for marijuana." And her first thing was, the bank doesn't screen. And then that's when I was like, this is the problem. No one's talking to each other. And the thing is, so many people are essentially job searching in the dark. So just imagine, like, you're not even applying for jobs that you're qualified for under the assumption that employer may screen, in which they may not.
Right. And now they have a site they can go to. Okay, so
and now they have a site that they can go to.
You had your vision. You were able to amazingly execute. Even in clearly a short period of time. And now you're at the point where 13,000 users, and I think, Sam, this is where you were getting into it with like, how is it revealing itself that you need to scale? Like, how is it like where's the border or the boundary that you can't push through because of the challenge that you came onto the show for?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I recently just had a conversation with an employer, and they just told me that they would give me their national account, and we need the technology to hold that. So, that just gives you where we're at. And then even the physicians, I have physicians waiting for us to continue to build out our product stronger, so we can deliver more patients to them, because this is a growing need. So that's really where we've been at. It's right now, everything has been accelerated to meet, job seeker, employer, and physician demand. Like that's where, and as a, I'm Black, I'm in tech, I'm in cannabis, and it's a new experience, like I'm out here raising capital, that's therapy in itself. It's all love. I think the best thing is honestly, that really keeps me going, is that when I talk to people, they constantly remind me that they need they need this product. They need it. And that's what keeps me going. And that's why, we've been putting the pedal to the metal, and we've been great, man. I've got some great advisors. I've connected with some great people in the city, like we're here, we will be closing our round very shortly. So, this is an exciting time, and just to get out there and add something new to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And what does it mean that you said you have an employer who wants to use the site, but you need to build out the tech? What does that mean? Because you have you have jobs on there now. So what is this, a new offering? Is this an additional?
Well, just in terms of full on capabilities, of just everything that comes with dealing with a large employer, like that, which is why, we're building out that technology, because, for us being a startup, it's about handling everything that comes with it, all the right amount of traffic, all the right amount of information, everything, so
it's like
that's
enterprise level security and passing
absolutely.
like penetration tests and things like that.
Yeah.
Correct.
And without getting too technical, I want to make sure that I understand that part also, because, today you have 13,000, which is already a pretty big population for a startup. And then, like you said, with an enterprise account and some of these other things, is it really just taking all the great stuff going on the site right now and just making the technology strong and capable enough to meet bigger and bigger requirements? Or are you adding new functionality? Is it a combination of both?
Absolutely. It's a combination of both. So we will be building it out so we can handle that, and then also developing a new functionality. So even though I'm non-technical, I have some great ideas, because being a job seeker, the great part is, there's a lot of pain points, there's a lot of barriers that, here at Phynally that we're going to solve. I can't speak on them just yet, but I will say that it's we're looking to do something very different. And what I mean by that is we're going to open up the communication lines. That way there's a better accountability, so people can be properly placed. There we go.
Yeah.
And and that's just really important to me. Yep.
Yeah. So I would add then, before we dive in, and scaling is such a huge word. When we talk about scaling a business, I'm going to go into where I would say technical, a little bit of a technical term for it, so that we can help differentiate some things, because it sounds like you're kind of growing and expanding and still ideating and creating new products and services. And whereas scaling to me is always, how do we take a stable product and service that we're getting a lot of success with and create more capability, like capacity to do more of that. So the one thing on this call that I think we can help at least differentiate as we start is, it sounds like you want to do both. You already have a great product and service that you want to scale, which is you're finding technical, or let's say employee limits, and we'll maybe explore that more in a minute. That would say We want to do more of the same good things. And that is sort of the technical term scale. We want to scale our business so that we can just produce more or we can have more flow. But then simultaneously, you want to create new products and services, which I would definitely recommend putting a line on and saying that's not part of scaling. That's just also part of developing, ideating, growing, expanding your portfolio of service and products. Because I will say, principally speaking, scaling the business is going to be complicated enough on its own. So if you conflate the generation of new services and what is essentially R&D processes into the scaling process, it's going to make it unnecessarily complicated and difficult. So even like as we start to draw that line, it's going to help compartmentalize your efforts, because building new products and services takes a whole different process and mindset than scaling success that you already know and is stable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so let me ask you this question with that pertaining to the scaling part. You just put it so eloquently. I'm just trying to think of, I'm thinking, that's how I get. Let me ask you this in terms of scaling, right? So for us to get our product into different areas, or let me say to scale to meet with the employer side, right? So we were speaking about the employer side in a little bit. From your perspective, how would you suggest to take on national accounts or national employers to scale properly from where we're at?
Mm-hmm. So the scaling, and this is the part where I think as we're spending a few minutes on the nuance of like Jonathan, I think kind of identified, if you're working with small businesses, they might not have, let's say, the security requirements or some of the other requirements, which is like new functionalities to your technology. But in order to add those, you're actually offering them the same services that you are today, we're presuming. So let me an example, like let's say you were just like a factory. I always find that it helps to do like tangible things to kind of set the stage. Right. The factory is making widget A. So if you're able to produce 100 widget A's today based on the factory's size and capability. If you get a major client that's going to double that, like a new enterprise client, they're going to say, we want you to double your production. And we want to make sure that you're ISO certified and that the widgets you're producing meet a new standard of quality that you've never met before. So there's two challenges here. The first is you have a scaling problem because you're only outfitted to make 100, and you need to now create the factory so that physically you can make 200. So that's one aspect of scaling, where you just need to replicate or expand your current capability to meet the demand. Now, if the client asks for additional certification on the product that your current customer base is not asking for, that would become a new requirement to add to your capability set. But you're selling them the same product. They're still asking for just the same widget that you've been making. They're not asking you for fundamentally like a widget B or a widget C as part of the deal yet. They're just asking for you to produce more of the same thing with some additional requirements to match their scale and their security requirements, et cetera. So in your journey right now, I was trying to relate to that because you were saying, well, we got this new big employer coming on. So I think the question is, what are you trying to sell them, or what are you trying to scale in this scenario? Is it the same products and services for now, but you just have additional requirements? Are you also selling them on, we're going to build new stuff? So it's kind of separating those dimensions.
Right. Yeah. So to answer that, okay, great. So maybe I didn't get it prior in the prior question, but so I got it now. Essentially, that's the thing. It's one of those where we have to decide if we're capable at this stage to take them on. Because it's going to demand so much for it. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, why we've accelerated our raise, because, we're building out our team so we can take on to have this type of client, because it will require that level of security on a higher scale. And then also just to be able to keep on reproducing that time over and time over, because like you said, with the widgets, it's, hey, we need all of these widgets and it needs to meet these requirements. And until we need to really get it out there.
Let me take a little different tack. Right now, your customer is anyone who's looking for a job who might be a consumer of cannabis. That's your customer. Like the 13,000, what attracted them to the site and the service is that if they fit that profile, they can go to the site and they can get information about available employers to them.
Correct. If they're yes.
So now you're considering having a different kind of customer. Like, what is it? What's an employer at? Like, how does that change things? Like, is there new services that you're offering that makes the employer? Because any employer can go to the site now, or anyone could be applying to a job based on the fact that they found out the information on your site. So, what does it mean that you're going to have an employer?
A large account, one specific account. Like I'm talking about a large account. I don't want to go, I don't want to throw a company name out there, but if we were to bring on, if we were to bring on a larger account to handle that, for the job seeker, our customer, we're job board. Any employer can come on our site. Anybody can come. If you do not screen for marijuana at all, or if you dropped it from your panel, Phynally is home for you. We want the employers to get an understanding of that. So for us to have multiple employers to come on as we do now, but as we prepare to scale, we want to be able to handle the traffic and the things that come with a large account such as so.
So it sounds like they're already a two-sided marketplace, Jonathan, from what I'm hearing. It's just scaling to bigger and bigger clients and maybe employee bases too. But you're already working with employers and physicians and employees in your current model, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's the thing. It's a little unique what we have because for us, not only is the job seeker, let's just say if they're they're looking to see if they may qualify for medical marijuana, they can do that through our site. That they're a job seeker and they can find out if they're a potential patient as well. So for us, we really want to be able to help identify these people so we can get them deliver them to the right people. If you need to be treated, here's a medical marijuana physician for you. And if you're looking for an employer that does not screen, that way you can get appropriately hired for your talents and what you're qualified for, then this is home because the employers are excited to meet you. Amazon came out publicly and said that they don't screen anymore for marijuana. Like it's one of those things where more and more companies have come out. Legislation has been passed that says that you cannot for pre-employment. So, for us, it's kind of transitioning today's job seeker into a more suitable space for the future.
Did you want to follow that up, Sam, or?
I was just clarifying. Go ahead. You can finish where you were headed with that.
So let me, I'll say what you don't want to do when you're scaling. So right now, it sounds like there's a host of opportunity coming your way. Like you have a lot of different possibilities of what you could be building and how this can evolve and how it can grow. And the problem is, and this goes to what Sam was saying, you can't scale something you don't know what it is yet. So if like you mentioned, doctors want to come on or there's a healthcare space, et cetera. If all these things come on, each one of them is a new service. It's like a new company on some levels for you because you don't know how to do it. And it's a new market. So the customers don't know exactly what they would want out of it. They might say so, but so there's a lot of learning to do in that process. So the problem is that when people are thinking of a company, like you have the opposite problem with most people. Your opportunities just keep popping up, or
that's a phenomenal thing,
which is a great problem, a great problem to have. Yeah. And most startups, like they can't even get like the first problem they're trying to solve to the market, and even know if the market even wants what they have. So you're past that. But the problem is that, or where it can become a problem, is if you try chasing all these things at the same time and just grow, you're not going to satisfy anyone. You're not going to have a customer that is satisfied. So presumably the 13,000 who have come on, they like what the product is right now. And if you were to add an employer to it, you want to just make sure that you are very clear on who your customer is and what your objective is. So, because otherwise your customer could be, oh wow, I didn't even know that so and so was a possible customer. I didn't even realize that doctors could, might want to do this. I didn't, et cetera. And then suddenly you have just all these different profiles competing for your energy, and you start losing your mission, and you start not being able to do any of it very well. So I think that's, we're getting to the crux of it a little bit, but you want to be very, very clear. And I would balance that though with, if you haven't built the product to what you originally envisioned yet, so you're still at the stage of doing a prototype, let's say. So you always intended that mega employers were going to be on there, doctors are going to be there. Like, you intended this whole thing. In that case, we would always recommend scoping it down small to start, to prove it, get your processes down, and then you can start scaling. So in the case of the employer, you might start having 20 employers, mega employers, who want to be on the site. And then that's a great problem to have, but it's one that it's very hard, even whatever funds are coming your way, organizing that toward a product that's going to make sense to anyone becomes very hard if what you're doing from the get-go is trying to satisfy so many people. So I'll pause there and see if any of that resonates.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the feedback. I think one of the great things about this platform and what we're building is that our primary focus is getting people access to jobs. Number one. Alongside of that is getting people access to doctors as well. They run one and the same for us. And the unique thing is, this is what they call unseen hours. You guys see 1 year of Phynally, but what you didn't see is the 3 years prior of the company that I had, which was, Phynaly's a rebrand and a brand new different company, but we've had traffic, we've had doctors. So now where we're at, it's ultimately understanding our customer more and connecting them with the right people. So on the employer side, to like you said, having more employers come on board. For us, it's the education. And the thing is, employers should love to come to this site because there's people hitting walls that's applying for their jobs or not applying to their jobs, and that, I think, is the biggest thing for us. And then also doing that and going back to the college, going back to that, to today's current workforce, all this is an identification issue. It's hugely identifying. And I think for us to bring that clarity for the employers, yes, that's what we are. We are home for that. And then handling it. We have tons of employers on our sites now. The traffic that we have and the placements that we've received, it's been tremendous. And that's the main reason why we are growing and scaling, so we can handle it more, and really take it in stride. But I will say, it's so if you haven't noticed, when an obstacle comes, I get excited. So like for me, most people think problem, I think opportunity. You know what I mean? Like that. So John, when you're like, when the problem, I'm like, oh, well, is it really a problem or is it like a sidestep? Because that's how I am. And I think one of the challenges alongside, going back to what you said, John, one of the challenges alongside of that is really getting the people inside of these, the large employers, getting the people to understand, because these are the same people. Like if you're inside of a large company or a large firm and you're consuming cannabis, you're someone that identifies with this site. Goes back to what I said before, inside out thing. It's really an identification thing. The jobs that we're posting, these are quality people that we want to have opportunity, and they're patients.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not 100% like where you are in the build of the product, because I think that for the whole conversation we're using build, growth, and scale interchangeably. but they're a little bit, well, they're distinct, because growth implies you have a process that's repeatable and you're just adding more to it, as Sam was saying. But you, I don't know, like the current employers who are on the site, they're smaller employers that are on the site, or do you not need employers yet on the site, or like they don't need a specific participation role other than the fact that you can access their information, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certain things I didn't really want to go specifically into, just for, that if and I was trying to allude to that, you know what I mean, for certain IP stuff. Okay. You get what I'm saying? So like, if I've been dancing around it for the past couple of minutes, and that's okay. So
we will break you.
Because you're probably like, hey man, it's not really resonating or connecting. It's like so one, employers are coming to post on our site. Two, these are large national employers. Three, for us, or four, what we're trying to do is we're raising capital so we can handle all of it. But within the mix of everything that we're doing, there is some special IP that we have going on that I love. And but I hear you, Jon.
So I would. My point is, because your mission is so passionate, you're passionate about your mission. You're very clear about your mission. It resonates, to the audience, no doubt. You want to just make sure that you focus on meeting that mission in a clear way before you start pursuing too many opportunities, because then or make sure they're separate in the effort, because until you have one of something, you have none of something. So until you have a site that's doing all the things that the minimal things it needs to do to solve the problem for the cannabis user, you're still in build mode, so you don't have a problem of scale yet. You just have a problem of building the site to be fully what it needs to be as an MVP. For that case, you just probably want to pick one or two or three, maybe, employers, so that way you get their feedback, like almost like pilot partners, or launch partners who are part of what you're doing. They're giving you feedback. Both of you are getting something out of it. And then, boom, you have your build. And now that thing can start running in processes that you understand and that work and that clearly have a positive value being produced for people. And then you could start expanding that and going into other areas. So I'll see if that resonates.
Absolutely. It's it definitely resonates. The employer feedback for us has been phenomenal. We have some internal surveys based off of the data that we did before we even launched, just to kind of understand the problem holistically. So, and in bringing on the employer partners that we have, one of our first relationships with La Colombe, it's a big coffee company out here in Philadelphia, to have them come on and post jobs, has been phenomenal for us. So, and they're just one of many employers that come and post and pay for jobs. So, yes, it's definitely, it resonates. I hear you.
Yeah. And I'll just add, like, to try to summarize, I think what our advice generally is with scaling. I think it's more of a cautionary advisement, because like you said, you're sitting on the precipice of incredible opportunity. You're about to get funded. You've got all these incredible client and sort of growth opportunities. I think the biggest thing that we're trying to articulate is always know what you are at your core and the service that you're trying to provide, and don't lose sight of that, because I'll take a risk. I kind of messed up, I feel like, my widget factory example earlier. So I'm going to try to do another physical example and see if I can hit it this time. Like, you don't want to become, like, right now, when you start a good company, let's say your knife, and then somebody asks you to add a screwdriver and you become a Swiss Army knife. It's very easy then to keep adding and adding to the point where it won't make sense anymore, and you won't have an identity. And then there is nothing to scale and grow from, because nobody wants to buy the product anymore if it loses its core identity of trying to do what it's supposed to be doing. So, like, you can start adding certain functions as you grow and as you also expand and scale out your capability at the same time. But I think it's going to be the danger that you're walking into is the danger of too much energy. And that energy, if it's not controlled and focused, will change the company in ways that become so variable and so heavy that it bogs you down. So it's kind of this counterintuitive wisdom a bit where you could go anywhere, especially with funding. That's when it really gets dangerous, because you could do anything and you could build anything, but making sure that you know a very clear identity and the very clear set of functions that has made you successful to this point that can maintain their integrity is going to be super critical to navigate, the coming months or years for the company.
Yeah.
And the way you can make sure that you keep that focus is by knowing very clearly who your customer is. Because when you went through the whole scenario, you're saying, and this benefits employers as well. And in other words, it benefits a lot of people. But your customer is that person who uses cannabis. When you were sitting there, and saying, I need a job, or your friend was saying, I don't think I could even apply there. Like, that's the person you're trying to help. And then just, as an example, imagine you bring on these new employers and it's amazing and you're able to successfully do it. But if your focus isn't on the safe space that you're creating, let's say these employers put all these requirements. They want extra data about the candidates. They want extra screens the candidates have to go through, to verify themselves or whatever. And before you know it, the employers feel really good and you have a great site, but you don't have a great site for the customer anymore because they don't feel so safe. But if you keep your eye focused on them and also know the employers are a means to an end, without them, there's no jobs. You're more likely to maintain your mission and your differentiators and be successful as you build and grow. But if you try treating each opportunity as something you want to conquer only, and you lose sight of what's keeping it cohesive, the problem is that you can end up failing in all of them. We don't think you would, but I'm just saying,
I hear you.
That's the danger.
Yeah. The common scale, you don't want to grow too fast and, scale too quickly. And understanding our user, for us, our customer identifier is unique, which is, I think, what makes us unique. I didn't not go into specifics for no reason, but I'll just, I will say, our core mission and what we're doing right now is getting people jobs and getting them access to medical physicians. Now, with that, like I said, with that being said, it's what got us here. The thing is, all we're doing is being responsive to what's being told to us. So this platform is a reflection of the need that essentially has arisen. And here's another thing, like, we go to the bounce back to the employer to doctor side for us, us connecting the patients with doctors, this was an opportunity that essentially came about it from the problem, so we sought to see it, which is why, you got to get out there and you got to get it right. That's the cool thing about it. If it's, I could do all things but fail. You know what I mean? So I hear you. But no, thank you so much, Jon. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways scaling could go. I know we've talked about it from different angles. Before we overload you, is there hopefully we've offered some clarity. Is there any other questions or clarifications or any place else you'd like to go, Damian, as we're kind of getting close to time? Any other burning thoughts?
No burning thoughts. I think the one thing is, you had spoke yesterday about delegation and everything like that. And I was just saying, like, it's just for us, it's a cool time just because, we're hiring, we're growing our product and also, as a new startup tech, like, I told you, I come from sports management, to be a new founder in a technology space, I'm learning. And the only way you can learn is to get out there, experience it, fail, learn fast, get up, keep on rolling. But yeah, right now we're excited just because, We're going to be delegating. We're going to be hiring, and just excited to go out there and get our product out there.
Yeah.
Nothing too much, Sam. I don't want much, man. I don't want much, Sam.
No, I got you. Yeah. And I'll reflect the comment, especially we didn't get to talk about delegation too much in this episode, but I think the heart of what we've been talking about is when you consider scaling and then you consider delegating as part of that mechanically, it's all just about what you are scaling. And I think that's what a lot of our conversation today was about. And when you can clearly articulate what parts of the business need to scale and what parts need to stay the same, then that's the center of your delegation conversation. Because once you can make that list saying like, we need to scale some of the technical components, we might need to scale some of the marketing components or customer service or client success, whatever it is, then it gives you a template basically to say, these are the roles or the functions that we need to enable that. But there has to be a one-to-one association between what the scaling is, because I think delegation you'll find challenging if you're saying, we're going to scale the whole thing and we're going to bring on new customers and we're going to build new capability. But then who is the person you need to enable that? It's got to get down to that level of what are the actual technical components that need to be built? What are the actual new functions we might need to be adding? What are the new requirements to bring on, from 13,000 to 26,000 or 40,000 people? And then breaking that down into the actual role cards of the people that would need to be doing the things. And that's where the delegation can become successful. I think one of the things we've seen in our space, especially, just to kind of comment on this piece of the scaling is if you have a startup and you're used to doing everything and then just hiring a bunch of people who are also talented who can do everything, especially if you get funded, you're going to eclipse the point where that's going to become help you be more successful. It's going to help you get more bogged down and confused, because as more people enter the endeavor, they need to have clearer and clearer roles. And that's sort of really fundamental to the delegating part of what you're about to consider.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's different. It's hiring in a different world. It's like I said, I've done hiring and management before. I'm excited to do it in tech, and also I'm excited to bring on people and provide them a space to thrive. I think that's that's a core part of how we can get to where we're going. There's some like I said, I'm a non-technical founder. So a lot of this, honestly, guys, a lot of this is me learning. Some of the questions that you ask, some of those, questions that you're asking, I haven't even gotten to them questions yet, in terms of where we're, optimizing in certain facets of the business, just because we're so young and early. But that's what also makes us nimble. That's what makes us fluid. And that's what allows us to kind of, when these problems do arise, figure them out in real time and solving them in real time and keep on rolling. And I think that's what gives us the excitement, because you're right. We don't know what this is. And I think that's our best. Trait is because we do know that we have something that is here to help people. And for right now, we're going to keep building off of that. And that's what I'm excited about.
Well, that's a great comment to end on. So we want to thank you. I just want you to know we love what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your experience and kind of part of your journey and allowing us to kind of riff some ideas off of your growing business. And other than that, I'm sure the audience will also love it too. For those of you listening, please let us know if you have any questions or comments. If you have anyone in your network or you want to come on the show, we'd love to talk to you about your business. So until then, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you all next week.